Both the Fed and the Bank of England are set to raise interest rates this week, but they're playing with fire. Right now it's dangerous. Let me explain. Elon Musk has said that the bigger they raise interest rates, the deeper the recession is going to be. Many investment managers are saying exactly the same thing. What's happened? Well, in the last 4 Fed meetings, they've raised interest rates. And of course, now they seem set this week to raise them again by 0.5%. It's 80% certain, according to a survey among the investment experts. Bank of England, exactly the same thing. Do they need to raise interest rates? Well, let's look at the facts so that you've got them and you understand what's going to happen to mortgages, what's going to happen to employment. First of all, why do they need to raise interest rates? Well, first of all, you've got inflation that's high in both America and the USA, and it's different to the rest of the world. Why? They've got wage inflation. In America, you've seen an economy that's on fire. You've also seen in America and in the UK, over 55-year-olds drop out of employment. So there's a lack of people, lack of labour. Why have they dropped out in the UK and the US? Two things seem to be under consideration. Number one, the UK and the US has more investors. In other words, people over 55 had more money behind them, and after COVID, they were able to drop out of the marketplace. It's also true to say that in both countries, COVID had a bigger effect. So maybe people over 55 felt more wanting or were more anxious to actually drop out of the marketplace. They actually felt that they wanted to maximize their time. Whichever way, whichever the answer is, and they're the only two conclusions that I've seen from people that have looked at the situation, is that you have a shortage of labor. You've also got a shortage of labor in the UK, not only because of those two reasons, but because of Brexit. So we've got two countries where there's a tight labor force. You've got inflation in the rest of the world, but it's driven by shortages rather than driven by wage inflation. So what do the Bank of England and what does the Fed have to do? Well, they have to reduce inflation. So far, the effects have not actually come through into the marketplace. And that's why it's dangerous. We don't know yet whether the Fed's interest rates and the Bank of England's interest rates will have the effect in time. They will have an effect. Okay, the question is, I guess, when and have they done enough? Why is it important? Well, if you get wage inflation and you get that continuing, wage inflation causes more wage inflation, causes more wage inflation, gets out of control, and you get social unrest. You can see it in the UK with strikes. So governments and indeed central banks have to try and control this, try and make sure that inflation goes away. They've already raised interest rates. Is enough? Is it enough? They're set to raise them another step. Is it too far? In other words, it's really fine lines. If they increase them too far, you get a deeper recession. So everybody's looking at it, looking and seeing what they're actually going to do. It's certain this week they're going to raise interest rates. Expect the UK to have to go further in the future, and indeed potentially the Fed. Okay, why? Well, we're still seeing this wage inflation there, and until it actually stops, you're going to get these constant increases in inflation. What to watch out for? Watch out for unemployment increasing. Okay, so I know that doesn't sound great, but that's the reality. Just think about it. If you've got wage inflation, if you're creating more jobs and you aren't actually getting into a situation whereby you've got jobs, but you don't have enough people to fill those jobs, fairly obviously, you get wage inflation. I'll keep you up to date with what's happening. Lots of this is priced into the stock market. It's just this fine line of when is enough. And the market could react both ways. In other words, you could see a market whereby they go, okay, that's good. It's now coming through. We now know where we are. There isn't going to be many more rises. Market goes super up hard. Okay, in other words, if you're in the market, okay, then you got some upside once they stop raising interest rates. Of course, on the other side, if they raise them and all of a sudden it's gone too far and the economy dies too much, then you could expect a 10% downside in the market. So what I'm saying is you've got upside in the market, maybe 20% upside in the market, potentially if everything went positive. You've got 10% downside. Okay, for me, better to be in the market than out of the market. However, I'd want to be in the right sectors. What's the right sectors? Right sectors are where people is invested or companies aren't discretionary spending. Okay, so certain things that you choose to do. Let's, for example, restaurants, you eat out. Okay, maybe in good times you eat out, let's say 2-3 times a week potentially. Okay, in harder times you may eat out once a week. Okay, so just think, what's discretionary spending? Okay, what do people do and choose to do? Okay, things that they just continue to do. Clean your teeth. Okay, those sort of things, then those things people, those companies continue because it's not discretionary spending. Okay, hopefully that helps. You always talk to a financial advisor. I try and give good information. Hit subscribe, please like and share the video.